After my cousin Tom heroically drowned while saving someone, my wife Lily, stroking her belly, confessed to me, "I'm carrying your cousin's baby. I can't have an abortion. I must give birth to an heir for the hero." The villagers also pressured me to be magnanimous. They all agreed that the hero deserved an heir. A hero's genes are rare. "This child will surely bring blessings to the entire village," they said during a live stream. Lily tearfully recounted her so-called epic love story with Tom, painting me as a despicable hypocrite who had stolen her love. I was wrongly accused and left speechless. At that moment, my cousin Alex, a police officer, called and said, "There's something fishy about Tom's so-called rescue. It's not as simple as it seems." Upon hearing of Tom's death, I rushed from afar to my Uncle Ben and Aunt Mary's home. Seeing Tom's photo on the altar, my eyes welled up. Although Tom had been a troublemaker since childhood, mercilessly bullying me, the blood tie still brought tears to my eyes. But as I cried, something felt off. Lily knelt before the altar, weeping as if it were her husband who had died, not my cousin. I scolded myself for having such thoughts. After all, Lily was naturally sensitive, so her crying was to be expected. With eyes swollen like walnuts, Lily noticed me after a long bout of crying. My heart ached as I reached for tissues to wipe her tears. "Why are you crying so bitterly?" I asked. She turned away, nervously glanced at Tom's photo, and said, "Jack, I need to talk to you. Let's go inside." Though puzzled, I followed her into Tom's room with Aunt Mary's permission. Lily sat on the bed as if she had been there countless times, completely at ease. "Jack, I'm pregnant," she blurted out. My mind went blank. Once I processed what she said, it was as if fireworks exploded in my head. "Truly? Truly? Is it really true?" I stammered, clutching the bank card in my pocket, which was filled with unexpected wealth. I started envisioning a future where I no longer had to toil away, selling the villagers' fruits. I could stop driving trucks and stay home with my wife. I'd pave the muddy village road with cement, build a live stream base to sell our fruits online, tear down the old house, and build the villa that Lily had always desired. I even began planning which room would be the nursery. 2 months, she said. 2 months ago, I was still driving trucks outside. Instantly, my happiness vanished, replaced by a rush of anger. "Whose is it?" I gritted my teeth, yanking her wrist. Lily's tears fell. "Your cousin's," she whispered. It felt like a thunderclap had shattered my mind. Just moments ago, I thought fate had finally smiled on me. Now, I felt the utmost irony of life. I shook my head violently and backed away. I wanted to slap Lily, but I held back, considering her pregnancy and the fact that she was a woman. I wanted to smash things, but the room was filled with Tom's belongings. Clenching my teeth, my face twitched. At my wit's end, I repeatedly punched my head, venting my frustration. I was alone, an orphan, and no one seemed to care about my suffering. "Have an abortion, Lily. Let's just pretend this never happened." I choked out, tears streaming down my face. Part of me felt pathetic, but another part feared losing the small family I had worked so hard to build. Lily immediately clutched her belly, shaking her head through her tears. "We can't be so heartless. This is the hero's child. I must leave an heir for him." A flood of bitterness washed over me. Lily had been bullied by Tom since childhood, cowering before him like a mouse before a cat. Yet, somehow, they had ended up together. With a bitter smile, I nodded. "Fine, then we'll get a divorce." Just then, Aunt Mary burst in, pointing at me and scolding. "Do you know who your cousin saved? He's the village hero. Everyone, come and judge this good for nothing. Jack, born of a mother who abandoned him, wants to make my son childless." Mourners outside poured into the room, gawking at us like we were a spectacle. I, the innocent one, felt ashamed. "Jack, a man must have tolerance," Uncle Ben said indifferently, as if he were discussing someone else's affairs. "The child will bear your name. You won't lose anything." I clenched my fists. "Uncle, if Tom weren't your son, could you endure this?" My uncle grabbed a stool to hurl at me. "You ungrateful wretch. Your cousin's a hero. How dare you slander him?" Others restrained him, while the village aunties who had watched me grow up pulled me aside, comforting me. "Jack, we must have a conscience. Your uncle and aunt have only Tom. Now that your cousin's dead and your wife is carrying his child, once the baby is born, you two can still live happily together," they urged. I looked at the tearful Lily, my furious uncle and aunt, and the villagers sighing in disappointment. I'm not stopping her from having the child. I just want a divorce, I said. The room erupted in protest. Jack, a man must be responsible. If you divorce Lily, how will she raise the child alone? My throbbing head finally cleared. I realized they didn't just want to force me to accept the situation. They wanted me to live with this humiliation for the rest of my life. Is the child even mine, and I'm supposed to raise it? I laughed. The situation was so absurd that it was laughable. I felt as if I were in a nightmare. Surely, reality couldn't be this grotesque. The villagers retorted, "But isn't your cousin dead? If he weren't, you might not even have the chance to raise the child." My uncle seemed to calm down a bit. "Jack, I know you're angry. My son did sleep with your woman, but he's dead now. Raising his child won't hurt you. It's still the blood of our family." Lily tugged at my sleeve, looking pitiful. "Jack, I know you're a good man. I'll still recognize you as the father of this child, and we can have our own children too. Get lost." I shook off her hand and started to leave. The villagers held me back, insisting I couldn't go until I agreed to take responsibility. Looking at the crowd, I recalled how my parents had died young. My uncle had refused to take me in because I wouldn't rely on his family for food. And although the villagers had been mostly indifferent, they had occasionally helped me. I had always returned the favor by transporting their fruit for free whenever I drove trucks. Yet now, for a man who had stolen and slept with his brother's wife, they were trying to force me into submission. "Let me go? We'll take this to the village head. I won't stand for this." As I was escorted to the village head Mark's home, he was watching a no-brand TV that I had bought him online. The news reported that someone in City H had won a $50 million lottery. The village head sipped his drink. If only I'd won, I could fix the village road. Then fruit buyers could come in, and our kids could have a better future. Seeing the village head, who had been the kindest to me since childhood, I didn't cry when I was wronged, scolded, or hit. But now, tears streamed down my face. The villagers chatted, explaining the situation to the village head, whose gaze wavered under my tearful eyes. A thought struck me. I might be the last one in the village to know the truth about my cousin and my wife. "Jack's not a criminal," the village head said. "Jack, tell me what you want." Like a ship finding an anchor, I steadied my trembling voice to sound as mature as possible. "Since Lily won't have an abortion, all I ask for is a peaceful divorce." The villagers erupted again, accusing me of being irresponsible and sentencing Lily and the child to a life of misery. "If you pity Lily, then donate to support her," I said. The noisy crowd fell silent. Even the child's grandparents, my uncle and aunt, stood there mute. The village head coughed, seemingly finding the villagers' behavior absurd. "Then let's respect Jack's decision." Before the discussion in the village could finish, a cheap, old-fashioned phone blared. The voice from the loudspeaker was audible even without turning on the speaker mode. It was the intermediary I had hired to handle the road construction. Knowing better than to flaunt my wealth, I had only involved the intermediary for the road and livestream projects. The village head, overjoyed by the news, kept thanking me. Watching him, someone who had toiled for the village for decades, my eyes welled up again. Despite how the villagers had treated me, I still didn't abandon my plan to build the road for the village head and the next generation. After the call, the village head's joy lingered, but he looked at me awkwardly. "Jack, perhaps it's better to let this whole thing go," he said. My face drained of color. "What do you mean, village head? Are we just going to let this lie and protect the so-called hero's legacy? Do you know who your cousin saved?" The village head grew solemn. "The daughter of a listed company's chairman who owns a beverage factory. They'll be grateful and buy our fruit. And since your cousin just died, someone's offering to pave the road. It's clearly a gesture of gratitude." I found the irony extremely bitter. Though I knew better than to show off my wealth, I still roared in anger. "It's me who's offering to build bridges and roads for our village." The villagers laughed, and so did Lily. "Jack, do you know how much road construction costs? You're just boasting. I could say I won the $50 million lottery too." The village head sneered, revealing his yellow teeth. Many muttered that I must have gone mad from the shock. "Jack, if you still see me as your uncle, just agree. Reporters will interview us soon, and you mustn't tarnish our village hero's name," the village head urged. How ironic it was. The villagers whom I had cared about after my lottery win thought so little of me. I won't agree. I'd rather die than be a cuckold, I declared. I even threatened to sharpen a kitchen knife and show up at their doorsteps if anyone forced me to acknowledge the child. The village head's once kind face darkened. Jack, your parents' graves are still in the village. I never expected the villagers would go to such lengths to protect Tom's reputation. My blood ran cold, sending shivers down my spine. I walked away without looking back, my heart broken by the villagers and the village head. I heard Lily ask the village head what to do, and he nonchalantly replied, "Don't worry, Lily. Once the road is built and the fruits are sold, the whole village will support your child. As for Jack, after things settle down, we'll expel him from the clan records and never let him return." I laughed. This village wasn't worth returning to. As for the road, let them wait. After checking into a downtown luxury hotel, I vented my frustration by ordering expensive takeout. I pulled out my phone and meticulously researched the news about my cousin's rescue. It was said that an elderly cleaner had witnessed the scene early in the morning. The girl had jumped into the lake first, followed by my cousin. The girl had suffered a head injury and remained in a coma in the hospital, while my cousin had drowned to death. Frowning over my meal, I found too many inconsistencies. Tom was a cowardly and ruthless man. He wouldn't lift a finger to save someone, let alone push them into the water. Moreover, he couldn't swim. A man who couldn't swim and valued his life above all else. How could he possibly jump in to save a drowning person? While scrolling through the news, I stumbled upon a live interview with our village. In the villagers' accounts, Tom was practically revered as a living Buddha. They even attributed my annual pro bono transportation of their fruit to find buyers to Tom. Good people don't live long, someone sighed in the comments. During the interview with Tom's parents, they were inconsolable, prompting the reporter to frequently wipe away tears. They lamented about having no one to care for them in their old age. I knew their words were laced with expectations, waiting for people to donate. A fleeting thought crossed my mind, and I typed, "So pitiful. The elderly mourning the young." I'll support Mr. and Mrs. Tyen's live stream and definitely buy something to pay for the hero. My uncle and aunt clearly saw my message. Their shrewd, worldly faces lit up with delight. They were tempted. The villagers had often talked about how much money internet celebrities could make from a single live stream. Lily, standing there like a stone pillar, also noticed my comment. She seemed to have an idea and wanted to ride the wave of attention. With a loud cry, she pushed past my uncle and aunt to stand before the livestream camera. "I'm Tom's girlfriend, and the child in my womb is the hero's posthumous offspring. My account name is Lily's Bear Happiness 1106. Please give a helping click, follow me, and earn some milk money for the child." The suffix of Lily's account name was even our wedding anniversary. I found it bitterly ironic. Some in the comments section criticized my uncle and aunt, as well as Lily, for being too mercenary. But others said that the living must live their lives. I smiled. Although I wasn't certain that my cousin hadn't saved someone, I knew the situation was far from straightforward. As long as they dared to live stream and sell goods, things would get interesting. The biggest mystery was, if the girl had truly attempted suicide by jumping into the river, her wealthy and influential parents would have come forward to thank the savior, even for the sake of their reputation. After much deliberation, I hailed a taxi and headed straight to the hospital where the girl was staying. After several days of waiting like a hunter by a tree, I finally spotted the girl's father, Mr. Brown, arriving at the hospital. He was leaning against his car and playing with his phone. The driver offered me a cigarette. "Bro, how do I get to the emergency department?" The driver took the cigarette and pointed in a direction. "Wow, your car must be worth $1 million or so. You're really young and accomplished." The driver waved his hand. "I'm just a driver for someone else." I said, "Hey, they say that when it comes to illness, all are equal, regardless of wealth." The driver smiled subtly. "It's not an illness. My young lady jumped into the river a while back and was rescued." I feigned surprise. "With such wealth and status, she still attempted suicide? Your boss must be truly grateful to the rescuer." The driver looked around and then mysteriously lowered his voice. "My boss's daughter couldn't possibly have attempted suicide. She's an only child, pampered since birth. She has enough money to start another company. Lack of love? Impossible. My boss would rather forego a major deal than miss his daughter's birthday. So, The so-called rescue has always seemed suspicious to him. With these thoughts in mind, I thanked the driver for his directions and left. After walking a distance, I called my cousin Alex at the police station. After listening to me, Alex said, "The boss asked us to investigate privately, but that area is a blind spot for surveillance." After pondering the terrain there for a moment, a bright idea struck me. "Bro, look into the riverbank where drivers often park their cars." Alex agreed, and I returned to the hotel. Upon turning on my phone, a live stream by Lily's Bitter Happiness 1106 popped up. Behind her, a banner read, "The wife of rescue hero Tom's live stream room." The shopping cart was filled with fruits grown by the villagers, and both the villagers and Lily kept thanking the audience for placing orders. Lily was tearfully recounting her epic love with my cousin. I opened the shopping cart and saw that they were selling 5 gin of oranges for 100 yuan. I couldn't help but whistle in disbelief. They were truly bold. Normally, the poorly maintained roads made it impossible for buyers to come and collect the fruit, and it would rot in the fields. I was the one who had driven them out to sell it. I felt an overwhelming urge to distance myself from them as much as possible. When I contacted someone to exhume my parents' graves, a group of villagers arrived. "Jack, you heartless bastard. You're even digging up your own parents' graves." I smiled coldly, meeting the village head's gaze. "Wasn't it you who first suggested exhuming them? Today, I shall move them. From now on, I, Jack, shall have a name but no surname. Everything sellable from my home is sold, and I shall never return." Upon hearing that I was selling everything from my home, Lily was so enraged that she nearly fainted. "Jack, you brute. How can we live like this?" Looking at the once gentle and shy Lily, now hurling insults at me, my heart ached as if pierced by needles. But when I glanced down at her slightly swollen belly, I recalled how, while I was striving to build our family, she had been intimate with another in the home I had worked so hard to establish. A wave of disgust and nausea washed over me. "Cousin's wife, how is selling my own family's possessions any of your concern?" Lily seemed to realize I was serious this time. For a moment, panic flickered across her face before she stepped beside me and whispered, "Husband, I know you've always been a good man. I did it to leave an heir for my cousin and to help the villagers sell their goods. Can't you be more magnanimous?" I pushed her away. "Get lost. Don't make me sick. I want a divorce. Lily, leave with nothing, or I'll expose our marriage certificate online." Lily's face turned pale with anger, and the villagers, fearing the impact on their fruit sales, immediately began to persuade her. "Lily, we all know you're a good person. If leaving with nothing is what it takes, so be it. Why fear him?" Seemingly recalling the money she had earned in the past few days, Lily straightened her back. "I don't care for your stinking wealth." As soon as the 30-day divorce cooling off period ended, I breathed a huge sigh of relief. With the divorce certificate in hand, the 50 million I had won in the lottery would now have no connection to Lily or the villagers. My cousin Alex also called me. "The story of your cousin saving someone seems fishy." My heart leaped to my throat. "What's going on?" Alex briefly recounted the ins and outs of the matter to me. Following my lead, he discovered a vehicle equipped with a dashcam that happened to be parked by the river during that time. The dashcam footage revealed that the young girl was jogging by the river first, and then Tom, wielding a stone with ill intent, followed her. Tom used the stone to coerce the girl into undressing. She, being of a fiery temperament, jumped into the river outright. Tom, possessed by some sort of madness, despite not knowing how to swim, jumped in after her. He began sinking immediately in the river, and several times he flailed his arms, with the stone in his hand striking the girl's head. Just as I had anticipated, Tom was more likely the type to push someone into the river rather than rescue them. "What did the boss say?" I asked. Alex replied, "The chairman is beside himself with rage. He had taken his family to your village's agritourism spot simply to check out your village's fruits and explore potential cooperation. But then this happened. Not only does he want us to issue an announcement, but he also plans to hold his own press conference to expose the truth." After obtaining the time and address of the press conference, I promptly infiltrated the event that very day. The boss first delivered a string of official remarks before preparing to play the video. As the journalist's lenses focused on the LED display, my hands trembled with anticipation. The truth was about to come to light. How can a man of your stature go back on his word? The village head Mark burst in with a group of villagers, creating a commotion. And my ex-wife Lily was there live streaming with a selfie stick. I logged into the stream incognito and noticed the chat flooded with messages condemning the wealthy for their lack of humanity. Didn't you promise to build a road for our village? The village head knelt right in front of the chairman. Chairman, a single hair from you is thicker than our legs. We beg you, even if you don't wish to do charity, consider it for the sake of your daughter's virtue and to repay the debt of gratitude. Chairman, you claim your daughter won't wake up because she hasn't thanked her savior. Listening to the village head's increasingly absurd claims, the chairman, a seasoned businessman, his face turned from red to black. Finally, the chairman said, then perhaps you should take a look at this video. As the video played, my Uncle Ben and Aunt Mary, seeing Tom holding a stone, looked flustered. Parents know their own children all too well. The villagers immediately stepped forward, urging everyone to stop filming. Yet the crowd was firmly held down by security guards, and even Lily's live stream, which hadn't been turned off in time, broadcasted the video to all. During the video, question marks flooded the chat. After it ended, there was a deafening silence both at the scene and online. Eventually, the silence was shattered by a chorus of refund requests. The village head squatted on the ground, first clutching his now whiter hair, then beating his chest and stamping his feet. It's all over. Completely over. The journalists, who had initially thought there wouldn't be any explosive news, suddenly found themselves in the midst of a sensational story. A village that not only harbored villains, but also attempted to extort others. This label would stick to the village's name for many years to come. Once the crowd dispersed, I approached the village head. Lily looked up at me, her momentary confusion quickly turning into a desire to throw herself into my arms and wail. Husband, I was wrong. Get lost. I shoved her to the ground. My uncle and aunt immediately jumped up to scold me. Jack, you ungrateful wretch. If Lily loses the child from the fall, can you bear the responsibility? Lily, thinking of the monster growing in her womb, shuddered and began pounding her stomach. What inferior genes. Unworthy of being born. The village head stared blankly at the chaos, and I didn't forget to whisper in his ear, Village head, the person who won 50 million is truly me. I originally planned to build bridges and roads for the village. The village head gasped, his hands contorted like chicken claws, and saliva began to trickle from the corner of his mouth. He had suffered a stroke, and the crowd scrambled to dial 120 again. I glanced sideways at Lily and my uncle and aunt. Their misfortune was yet to come. In the live stream, Lily and the villagers tearfully lamented, claiming they had been deceived from the start into believing Tom was a hero. Then they even paraded the village head out to play the victim. Our village head became so anxious about this matter that he suffered a stroke, they said. Many kind-hearted viewers in the live stream, thinking it wasn't a significant amount of money, decided to let it go. But how could I let them off so easily? Just as they were halfway through their apology, someone in the chat flooded the screen with "This village is too explosive. Go check out Jack's account." I posted online about how Lily and the villagers forced me to be a cuckold and how the village had threatened to desecrate my parents' graves. Faced with mountains of irrefutable evidence, netizens commented, "The whole village is full of villains." But knowing I had started by driving trucks and helped my fellow villagers sell their fruit for free every year, everyone commented, "In the entire village, only one good person emerged. Laugh at the joke, not the person. Big Brother is a real man." Many, upon hearing that I was forced to leave the village, offered to let me live stream and sell goods. I no longer feared revealing my wealth and being targeted. I directly posted my balance online. Thank you all for your kindness. Good people are rewarded. Lily, watching my account in the live stream, was so shocked that her eyes rolled back and she fainted. My cousin told me that Lily, overwhelmed with emotion, had a miscarriage. Upon learning about the loss of their precious grandson, my uncle and aunt confronted me in the city center. Fortunately, I had anticipated this and hired a group of bodyguards. Seeing they couldn't get close to me, my uncle and aunt began to act on sight. "Jack, you must give us 10 million now as emotional compensation and 20 million as our pension. It's all your fault that our family line is broken." I sneered. "Aren't you afraid of spraining your tongues with such big numbers? If you harass me again, I'll have the chairman deal with you directly. The chairman had made it clear that if anyone from Happy Home dared to set foot in the city center again, he would have their legs broken. I found my uncle and aunt both foolish and malicious, while a pale Lily came over and tugged at my sleeve. Husband, can you forgive me? I was deceived too. How venomous. I returned her past words to her. Of course not. We must have a conscience. You are the widow of my cousin, the cousin's wife. I emphasized the last phrase, and Lily couldn't help but cry out. I find human greed despicable, yet I still believe in the warmth of humanity. I set aside a portion of my lottery winnings, used another part to buy a house and a car, and invested the remainder in my cousin's Village Live streaming venture. When the live streaming base was completed, I attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Facing the flashing cameras of journalists, the people from Happy Home arrived once again. They tearfully described their misfortunes in front of the reporters. Jack was raised by us. Without our care, how could he have grown up without parents? Now that we've offended President Lay, no one comes to buy our fruit. Jack has money to spend on other villages, but won't look after those who helped him. Goodness me, how can there be such an ungrateful person? I smiled sweetly as I watched them make a scene. Just as I was about to retort, my cousin, uncle, and fellow villagers stepped forward to protect me. How dare you speak like that? At the time, because Jack refused to deed over the house to you, you all turned your backs on him. Jack was only 7 years old, alone and hungry, picking leftovers from your village's garbage bins. If I hadn't checked on him, I wouldn't have known he was surviving on scraps from your trash cans. Others laughed out loud. Who doesn't know that your village is infamous for extortion? There's even a saying now, marry anyone but those from the extortion village. The villagers, embarrassed by my uncle's words, thought of their nearly rotten fruit and the refunded orders. Closing their eyes, they began to fantasize. Jack, if you return to the village and donate another 20 million to build a live streaming base and ensure annual dividends for every household, no less than 1 million each, we'll allow you to bring your parents' graves back and restore your name and the clan records. Each of them wore an air of confidence, certain that I would agree. I strode to the front of the crowd, looking at the faces that once expressed gratitude for my help in selling their fruit, but now displayed arrogance and presumption. I realized how blind I had been in the past. Pa, is your clan record encrusted with diamonds? I wouldn't return even if you begged me. Keep your extortion village. I have no desire for it. Lily, humiliated by me multiple times, now discarded all dignity and knelt before me in front of all the journalists. She pleaded, Jack, I have no other options. I can't repay my debts. Please help me. I'll be your slave, Jack. Some reporters, detached from the reality of the situation, chimed in. Jack, your ex-wife has suffered with you. Your uncle and aunt share an unbreakable blood bond with you. I stopped my uncle from retaliating on my behalf and glanced sideways at the journalists and the prostrate Lily on the ground. Lily and I are divorced. We are ex-husband and ex-wife. She signed the agreement herself. As for my uncle and aunt, I paused, then curled my lips into a smile. They bullied me when I was young, trying to seize my house. Now that I've grown up, they want to clip my wings, even inciting their son to sleep with my wife. Who among you can bear such grievances and tell me to reconcile with them? I stared directly at the journalist who was trying to sway public opinion, making him blush with embarrassment. Lily and the villagers left empty, handed for the second time, but I knew a third attempt would soon follow. The live stream's effect was much better than I had anticipated. Due to its agricultural assistance angle and connection to the news, many came to see who was so unlucky as to have their wife cheat and be kicked out of the village. Sure enough, when I saw the monthly sales figures, Lily made her third visit. She squatted at the entrance of my residential complex every day. When she saw me, she lunged forward. Jack, back when you were always driving trucks outside, you never once ate a hot meal I cooked for you. She pulled out a thermos from her embrace, trying to thrust it into my hands. I stepped back, and the thermos fell to the ground. She looked up at me with a pitiful expression, and Lily was indeed attractive. Otherwise, my cousin wouldn't have been involved with her either. If it were the past, I might have already taken out tissues and pathetically wiped away her tears. I spoke coldly. Lily, people need dignity, and trees need bark. Reflect on what you've done. Don't come near me again. Seeing you sullies my eyes. Lily shuddered. seemingly not expecting my words to be so heartless. But if I hadn't won 50 million, Lily wouldn't be so obsequious today. Jack, I really have no other way. Lend me 5 million. Consider it help from our time as husband and wife, Lily pleaded, tucking a strand of hair that had fallen beside her face. Her eyes were red and swollen as she looked at me. I looked at her and felt nothing but disgust. However, I no longer wished to have any connection with my uncle's family and Lily. I signaled for Lily to come closer and whispered in her ear, Lily, you're a smart person. No matter how you cling to me, my answer is no. Impossible. But the ones who made you like this are my uncle and aunt. Their entire family is insured, and the insurance company has compensated them handsomely for my cousin's death. This time, Lily tightened her grip on the thermos she had picked up, then thrust it into my arms and left without looking back. Watching Lily leave, a fierce glint in my eyes told me that a dog spectacle was about to unfold. Upon hearing that Lily had taken up residence at my uncle and aunt's home and had caused quite a commotion, I decided to personally witness the drama unfold at Happy Home. I contacted the new village head and announced my return for the ancestral worship ceremony. Thanks to the live streaming base I established in my uncle's village, my net worth had multiplied several times over, and the villagers had begun constructing their own little villas. The people of Happy Home were green with envy. Thus, for this visit, the new village head had not only laid down a red carpet to cover the muddy sections of the village roads, but also organized villagers to hold banners and welcome me in formation. The entire village surrounded me with fawning smiles. President Jack, we are all your blood relatives. Even if our bones are broken, we are still connected by sinew. You must not forsake us for other villages. Yes, Jack, it's really not right what happened. It was your wife who wronged you, not us. Seeing my face darkened, the new village head immediately kicked someone away. I recalled the old village head and said, I wish to see the old village head. Many immediately praised my kindness for still being mindful of the village head. A group led the way to the old village head's home. Upon entering, I found the old village head lying in bed with a crooked face and mouth. The room was filled with a stale smell. Unable to turn his head, he had to be assisted to sit up. Since his collapse, the villagers had abandoned him to his fate. Even his own children only ensured he didn't die, doing the bare minimum. This was the first time someone had come to see him since the live stream incident. The old village head mumbled incoherently, and I leaned in closer. He uttered, regret, regret. Thinking of how he had favored my cousin, leading to the entire village losing their fruit sales and road construction hopes, and how he had sided with the village, yet after his illness, not a single villager cared for him. Only I, who didn't disdain his filth, came to see him. I was the one who used to bring him city ointments every time I returned from driving trucks. Regret, regret. For a moment, my heart softened, but then I recalled how he had threatened me with the graves of my deceased parents. Old village head, if you hadn't pushed things to the extreme back then, I wouldn't have abandoned the village that raised me, I said. Sometimes I even thanked their ruthlessness, as it allowed me to harden my heart completely. I stood up and said, I need to pay a visit to my uncle. Unlike the previous time, when the yard was filled with mournful music and silver, gray decorations, my uncle's home was unexpectedly quiet this time. A villager eager to ingratiate themselves banged loudly on the door. Open up. Your nephew has come to see you. After a long while, there was no response. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. Could they have gone out? Where could they go? I saw them not leaving the house today. We gathered at the village entrance early, and they didn't even step outside. I nodded meaningfully. Perhaps Uncle doesn't welcome me. Then I'll leave. The new village head immediately panicked, pushed aside the person knocking, and shouted himself, What are you putting on? If you don't open the door, I'll have people break it down. From inside the door came Lily's panicked voice, Don't. The villagers immediately sensed something was wrong and started battering the door. Under the strength of several burly men, the door didn't hold for long and was breached. Inside, my uncle and aunt were found slumped in their chairs, blood streaming from all 7 orifices of their bodies. Lily, pale-faced, was pushing a suitcase, looking around the room in a panic. With a shrill cry of murder, it seemed as if it wasn't my cousin who had died, but her own husband. She glared at me venomously. I had only intended to cause chaos in uncle and aunt's household, never imagining Lily would have the heart to kill. It wasn't until I was taken to the police station for questioning that I learned Lily had purchased rat poison last month, around the time she brought me a meal. The thought of nearly eating that poisoned food sent chills down my spine. Lily was far more vicious than I had imagined. After being rejected by me that day, she went straight to my uncle and aunt's home. If she had still been pregnant, they might have shown some leniency, but with the only heir gone, my aunt openly confronted Lily in the courtyard, right in front of my cousin's shrine, eager to get her hands on the money. Lily visited daily, berating my uncle and aunt and lingering in their home. Eventually, she noticed my uncle's inappropriate intentions towards her and used that to trick him into revealing the family's savings and passwords. She had initially planned to steal the bank cards and flee, but unable to swallow the injustice of being wronged by them, she administered a bottle of rat poison, sending my uncle and aunt to their graves. Later, when the people from Happy Home messaged me, stating that my uncle's family was not allowed to be buried in the ancestral cemetery and hoping I would move my parents' graves back, I replied, "Is your ancestral cemetery lined with diamonds?" Scram! Outside the floor-to-ceiling window of my apartment, the sunlight was brilliant, casting a warm glow over the bustling city below. I stood there, gazing out at the world that seemed so full of life and possibilities, a stark contrast to the turmoil I had left behind in the village. As I reflected on all that had transpired, I couldn't help but feel a sense of liberation. The drama in Happy Home had finally come to a tragic end, but it had also set me free from the shackles of a place that had once brought me so much pain. I had made a name for myself outside the village, and my success in the live streaming venture was just the beginning. News of the events in the village continued to spread, and it wasn't long before more people reached out to me. Some were investors interested in partnering with my live streaming business, seeing the potential in promoting rural products. Others were journalists hoping to get an exclusive interview, wanting to know the full story from my perspective. I decided to grant a few interviews, not to seek revenge or to further shame the villagers of Happy Home, but to share my journey and to inspire others who might have faced similar hardships. In the interviews, I spoke candidly about my childhood, the betrayal I had endured, and how I had risen above it all. My story resonated with many, and it wasn't long before I became something of a local celebrity. Meanwhile, the new village head in my uncle's village was working hard to rebuild the community's reputation. He reached out to me, asking for my advice and support. Despite the past, I saw the potential for positive change, and I agreed to offer some guidance. We worked together to develop a more honest and sustainable model for the village's live streaming and agricultural businesses, ensuring that the focus was on quality products and fair dealings. As for Lily, after the incident at my uncle's house, she was arrested and faced serious legal consequences. The once beautiful and seemingly gentle woman had been consumed by greed and desperation, and her actions had led to a tragic end for my uncle and aunt. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness, not for her, but for the lost innocence of what I had once thought our relationship to be. Over time, I found myself healing. I met a kind and wonderful woman, and we fell in love. She understood my past and supported me in all my endeavors. We got married in a simple yet beautiful ceremony, surrounded by true friends and loved ones. One day, as I was looking through some old photos, I came across a picture of me as a child in the village. I remembered the happy moments, the simple life, and the people who had once been a part of it. Despite all the pain, I knew that those experiences had shaped me into the person I was today. I decided to visit the village one last time, not as the rejected outcast, but as a successful individual at peace with himself. When I arrived, the villagers looked at me with a mix of awe and shame. The new village head greeted me warmly, and we took a walk around the village. The roads were still in need of repair, but there was a new sense of hope in the air. I made a donation to the village, not out of obligation, but out of a desire to help the children and the few remaining kind-hearted souls who truly wanted to see the place thrive. I didn't seek any recognition or gratitude. I just wanted to leave something positive behind. As I drove away from the village for the last time, I looked back in the rearview mirror. The past was finally behind me, and I was ready to embrace the future with open arms. The sun was setting, painting the sky in a riot of oranges and pinks, a beautiful reminder that every ending is also a new beginning. And I knew that no matter what the future held, I was strong enough to face it, leaving the dark shadows of happy home in the past where they belonged.